A Navajo family's new home conceals a monstrous secret that crawls through windows and walks on two legs like a man. The high desert of northeastern Arizona stretches endlessly beneath skies so vast they seem to swallow the earth whole. Here, within the boundaries of the Navajo Nation, the land holds memories older than the United States itself, stories passed down through generations, warnings embedded in tradition, and names that should never be spoken aloud after darkness falls. It is in this ancient landscape, where red rock meets scrub brush and the wind carries voices from another time, that one family's dream home becomes the setting for their most terrifying nightmare. In the spring of 1983, the Yazzie family moves into a modest ranch-style house on the outskirts of a small community near Shiprock, New Mexico, just across the Arizona border. Thomas Yazzie, a mechanic in his early 30s, has saved for years to purchase this property for his wife, Maria, and their 3 children, 2 daughters aged 9 and 11, and a 6-year-old son. The house sits isolated, nearly half a mile from the nearest neighbor, surrounded by juniper trees and sagebrush. To Thomas and Maria, the solitude represents freedom and a fresh start. To Maria's grandmother, a traditional elder who visits during the move, the location raises immediate concern. The elder walks the property slowly, her weathered face drawn with worry. She notices the lack of other homes nearby, the way the land dips into a shallow wash behind the house, and the particular arrangement of rocks near the northern fence line. She pulls Maria aside and speaks to her in Navajo, urging the family not to stay. When Maria asks why, her grandmother will only say that the land feels wrong, that it carries the mark of something that has walked here before. Maria, eager to finally have a home of her own and not wanting to disappoint Thomas, dismisses her grandmother's concerns as superstition. The first incident occurs less than a week after the family settles in. Maria is washing dishes after dinner when she glances out the kitchen window and sees a massive figure standing at the edge of the property, perhaps 50 yards from the house. At first, she assumes it is a bear, though bears are uncommon in this particular area. But as she stares, trying to make sense of what she is seeing in the fading twilight, the creature rises onto 2 legs. It stands easily over 7 feet tall, its body covered in dark fur or hair, its proportions wrong, arms too long, shoulders too broad. Maria freezes, her hands still submerged in soapy water, as the figure turns its head toward the house. Even from this distance, she can see its eyes catch the last rays of sunlight, reflecting an amber glow. Then it drops back to all fours and lopes away with unnatural speed, disappearing into the wash. Maria tells Thomas what she has seen. He checks the property with a flashlight, but finds nothing unusual. He suggests it might have been a coyote or a stray dog, perhaps made larger by the dim light and her imagination. Maria wants to believe him, but she knows what she witnessed. That night, she lies awake listening to the sounds outside, normal desert sounds at first, crickets, and the occasional yip of distant coyotes. Then sometime after midnight, she hears something else. Heavy footfalls circling the house, moving from the backyard to the side, then to the front. The steps are deliberate, pacing, as if whatever is making them is studying the building's layout. The activity escalates rapidly over the following weeks. The children report seeing a large animal watching them from the tree line when they play outside. Thomas discovers enormous handprints, far too large to be human, pressed into the dust on the hood of his truck one morning. The prints show 4 fingers and an opposable thumb, with what appear to be claw marks at each fingertip. Most disturbing are the scratching sounds that begin to occur every night, concentrated around the children's bedroom windows. Long, scraping drags of something hard against the glass and window frames, accompanied by low, guttural breathing. Thomas, a practical man raised in both Navajo tradition and modern American culture, finds himself caught between 2 worlds. Part of him wants to call the police or animal control, but another part, the part that remembers stories told by his own grandfather, knows that no government agency will help with what is stalking his family. He reaches out to Maria's grandmother, apologizing for not listening initially, and asks her what they are dealing with. The grandmother arrives with two other elders from the community, both traditional practitioners who still maintain the old ways. They speak with the family at length, asking detailed questions about the creature's appearance, its behavior, and the timing of its appearances. They examine the property, noting specific signs that Thomas and Maria have not recognized, certain tracks that show the creature's gait shifting from 4 legs to 2, tufts of coarse hair caught on the barbed wire fence, and a particular smell, musky and wrong, that lingers near the house's foundation. The elders confirm what they have suspected from the beginning. The family is being stalked by a skinwalker, known in Navajo as a Yi Naldlushir, which translates to "with it, he goes on all fours." They explain that a skinwalker is a witch, a person who has turned away from the Navajo way of life and embraced dark practices, gaining the ability to transform into animals or to wear animal skins and take on their characteristics. Skinwalkers are the most feared entities in Navajo culture, beings of pure malevolence who use their powers to harm, terrorize, and even end the lives of others. They often target families, particularly those with children, and they do not stop once they have chosen their victims. The elders tell the Yazzie family that this particular skinwalker has likely been using the area for some time, perhaps drawn to the isolation and the proximity to the wash, which provides cover. The creature has become territorial, viewing the family's presence as an intrusion. The escalating activity, the circling, the window scratching, the increasingly bold daylight sightings, indicates that the entity is preparing for a more direct assault. Traditional Navajo protocol regarding skinwalkers is clear. Do not speak of them unless necessary, do not engage them directly, and leave the area they inhabit if at all possible. The elders strongly urge the family to abandon the house immediately. They explain that protection ceremonies can be performed, and they conduct one that evening, blessing the family members individually with sacred herbs and prayers. But they are honest about the limitations of such protections. A skinwalker, they explain, is a human being using corrupted power. It has intelligence, patience, and determination. It can wait. It can adapt. The only true safety is distance. Thomas and Maria face an agonizing decision. They have invested their savings into this property. They have nowhere else to go immediately. But as the elders' words sink in, and as another night of circling footsteps and window scratching begins, they realize they have no choice. The safety of their children outweighs any financial consideration. Within 3 days, the family packs what they can and moves in with Maria's grandmother, leaving the house vacant. Even after their departure, the nightmare is not entirely over. For weeks, family members report feeling watched, even in the grandmother's home in a more populated area. Strange sounds occasionally disturb their sleep, but gradually, as the elders continue to perform protection ceremonies and as the family maintains the traditional practices prescribed to them, the activity diminishes and finally stops. The entity, it seems, has remained with its territory, content that the intruders have been driven away. The Yazzie family never returns to the house near Shiprock. Thomas eventually sells the property at a significant loss to a buyer from outside the area, someone unfamiliar with what occurred there. Whether subsequent residents have experienced similar phenomena remains unknown, as Navajo cultural protocols discourage discussing such matters openly, particularly with outsiders. The family members who lived through the ordeal rarely speak of it, even among themselves, following the traditional belief that speaking of skinwalkers can draw their attention. The case of the Yazzie family remains one of the most detailed documented encounters with a skinwalker, preserved through interviews conducted years later by researchers studying indigenous paranormal traditions. It stands as a stark reminder that not all supernatural phenomena fit neatly into Western frameworks of hauntings and possessions. In Navajo cosmology, skinwalkers occupy a category entirely their own, not spirits of the deceased, not demons from religious tradition, but living human beings who have weaponized forbidden knowledge for evil purposes. For those who study such phenomena, the Yazzie case raises profound questions. If skinwalkers are indeed human practitioners of dark magic, rather than supernatural entities, what does that say about the nature of evil itself? How do traditional belief systems that have identified and categorized such threats for centuries intersect with modern understanding? And most unsettling of all, if the elders are correct, these beings are not rare anomalies, but active threats that continue to exist within certain communities, their presence known but unspoken, their activities continuing in the isolated places where they can operate unseen. The land near Shiprock remains as it has always been, vast, beautiful, and holding secrets that the desert wind whispers but never fully reveals. The Yazzie family has rebuilt their lives elsewhere, carrying with them an experience that forever changed their understanding of what walks alongside humanity in the darkness. Their story survives as a testament to the reality that some indigenous peoples have always known. There are things that share this world with us, things that wear familiar shapes but harbor inhuman intentions, and the old warnings exist for reasons that should never be forgotten. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.